I do have a tendency to remember sex dreams, but
Ooh.
for
You remember sex dreams?
more often than anything. Probably because I wake up and they're more...
Am I there?
Sometimes.
Whatever, the more the merrier. Welcome to another episode of the Creature Podcast. I'm Mike.
I'm Lindsay.
And today we're doing one of those episodes where we made producer Jamie do homework.
Yes.
We told her to go out and watch 2022's Bodies, 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 directed by Helena Rain, written by Sarah DeLapp, from a story by Kristen Ruperian. Probably messed that up. Jamie, you did the homework?
I did do the homework.
Awesome.
Yes.
What did you think of the movie? Did we piss you off?
No. I just had some questions about who wrote it. Was it a man or a woman who wrote it?
It's all women, all the way down.
And how old are they?
Oh, they were college-ish, little out of college, right? They were young, right?
I don't know how old, but I would guess
told
close
us
to
when
the
she
age of the
graduated, right?
characters.
Are they Gen Z?
I think they're probably maybe young millennials, maybe commenting on Gen Z.
Well, that's why that was my main thing, given how the Gen Z were portrayed in this. I was like, if this is written by Gen Z, it's a critique of their own generation. But if this is like
It's narc.
an older person doing it,
The
then
director is an older woman, and also she's Dutch. She's not American. Almost everything she's done up to this is in Dutch.
because they're portrayed as very unserious.
Yes, I think it's deep satire. Right?
Well, that's what I was like, is this a...
they're so rich and out of touch.
Yeah, I was
that-
like, is it a critique of wealth or is it a critique of age? Because Lee Pace is the only one that's older and out of that generation.
But the whole point is...
Okay, this lady was the same age as me, who wrote the story, not the screenplay.
There. And the director...
She's a millennial, an older millennial.
The director is probably
Because I'm an
my
older
age.
millennial.
So
yeah.
that gave me a bit of the, like, the ick, because they're like, look how dumb kids are.
Yeah, I have no ick on this.
See, now I wasn't taking
ick.
ick at all. I was taking this as a statement on what our society has become because of the internet.
I think we're
that's
maybe
what-
old.
And these kids now.
Because, like, the instant the power goes out and they don't have their phones,
Yeah.
I mean, it's the last line of the movie.
yeah. Well, like, the crux of the film is, like, if they don't have their phones, they'll spin out of control. And I'm like, that's kind of rough for you to be like, all the Gen Zs.
I don't think it's all the Gen Zs. They're just talking about a certain
very
sect.
much class is a part of it.
It is a class, definitely.
Well,
yeah.
that's true. Because,
a class is
we'll get
huge
into
in
it.
this
We'll
movie.
get into it.
Let's start this episode.
Hey, guess what? You just said my tagline, so...
It's going to become a t-shirt.
Okay, so it's going to be a lot. And I think, like I was talking about this earlier, I'm like, I'm on a tightrope here as being an old man talking about this, but I'm just going to do it. And I'll embrace that maybe I'm out of touch or whatever. I'm just going to fuck it.
I mean, we have a child in this generation.
Right. And who is
that's-
very much not going to panic when the power goes
No,
out.
but we
Yeah.
taught him not to.
Which is why I was
I agree.
that's who I was thinking about this whole time, and I was like, this is not how
But, you know,
he
like,
would
you
be.
love the movie.
He's the reason we
He's the
watched
reason
it,
why we
is
watched
he
it.
recommended it to us.
And then, like, I mean, to
I
be
think
fair,
he thought
though,
it was
like,
funny.
is definitely, we're going to have to bleep out his name.
Yeah.
Is definitely not the mold for his generation. He is outside the mold because I
Well,
have so many employees.
And that's he
I have
is
a couple...
obviously the Gen Z that I know the most.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah. But
Not
he's
lying.
special.
He's very different.
I
than
mean, the amount of
most
Gen
kids.
Z employees I have had that I've had to fire.
Well, and the amount of parents who tell me about their kids, like a coworker came in that I hadn't seen in a while, was like, "How's?" And I caught up. And I was like, "Oh, he's doing this," and blah blah. And she's like, "What is it like to have a kid?" It's fine. Your kids are fine. She's just so blank-faced jealous of, like, every time I tell a story about. It's like, I mean, even I go, that fucking golden boy.
Say, as a millennial who went to college and then has seen other millennials who go to college, and that college degree thing we were sold a lie.
Yeah, we were
Like,
sold a lie.
you're gonna do this and get the dream, and it's in debt. And so now to see that the next generation is like not buying into it,
Yes.
I can understand how their parents who might be millennial or Gen Xers would be like, you're not doing the thing that we all were told to do, but it hasn't panned out for any of us. So fucking
we were lucky we didn't do it all the way through.
do what you want, kid.
No debt. I
Yeah,
didn't,
no
I
debt,
didn't do it
because we
because
didn't do it.
I
Well, I
literally-
had debt, but I paid it off. But
Yeah, and I did it because I literally couldn't afford it. And I
Right.
was I didn't have a credit card till I was 35 or whatever, literally.
I know.
So how I was raised is like, I can't afford to do a thing, so I don't do it.
Right.
I told you're cool to learn a trade. You don't have to go to
Yeah,
college.
we did it over and over. And I told him I wasn't paying for college. I'm not going into debt for you because
Right.
it was so hard to get out of debt.
Yeah.
So I'm not doing it all
And
over
now
again.
in his last year at an Ivy League school and is literally going to be the way that he connects to people and has nothing to
Yeah.
do with...
It's just going to get him that connection
It's
that
about,
he needs.
it'll be about
Who you know.
because of where he went
Yep.
to school. That's going to be much more important for him because I went to just like a state school.
Yeah.
It means
It doesn't have any connotation.
nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, that's probably
Means
why he has this
fucking
internship.
nothing.
It
at
is.
all.
It's literally
To
it's why he
Cam?
got the interview at the very least.
It's why
Yeah.
he got all of this stuff is
Yeah.
because of that.
And that's
that
not to
fucking
say
name.
that he worked hard to get up to
Oh,
that
it did.
point because
He did.
I, as a high school student, would not have been I would not have been accepted. I wouldn't
No,
have
oh
made
no,
it in
that
there.
kid was constantly working.
Yeah.
He hustled to get there, and now it's going to
Which
probably
is
pay off.
then why when I watched this movie and I was like, this is real, it feels like putting down all of Gen Z, and I was like, well, not.
No.
I don't want to be that person that's,
Okay,
I don't want to be that
let's
person that's
get
like
into
not all
this.
men, but I'm like, not all Gen Z.
Well, I don't think the movie's saying all Gen Z.
No,
I think
I think
we're
it's saying
in
a
a
certain
very
class.
small place
Yeah.
talking about these characters.
Yes,
I
agree.
feel like we just needed a few older wealthy people to have been included in it to then drive home that what their critique is of the class system and not necessarily the
The movie's also
generation.
doing a play off of Agatha Christie's And Then There Was None. So it's actually standing in a defined area, doing a version of a story that's been done over and over again.
Just
So-
without a detective.
Right, exactly.
sort
Well,
of-
And Then There Was None. I think there wasn't a detective. It's the whole 8 people come up to a house on an invitation. It's Clue.
Yeah.
And people start
Yeah.
dropping dead.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the detective comes in at the very
end.
end of...
And Max shows up at the very end.
We got to start this episode.
I know,
We're
I know, I know,
basically
I know.
talking about it.
Yeah, I think it got off to John watched it with me and we both had a similar it got off to a very slow start. You're
Right.
just kind of watching people walk around and be assholes and you're like, when is the murder? When are people gonna start dropping?
It has to establish that you really want to see these people die.
Yes.
I think what it established for me in the beginning is that, and this may be just given my current state of personality, is that I was anxious the whole time because I knew that people were going to start dropping. And then so every time something happened, I was like, this is it. This is where they die.
I will
and then they didn't. And then we just kept going,
Absolutely
like, what
get
the
into
fuck?
that because I've been in situations like this. I've been to the white trash version of this
Okay.
for sure.
I was
Anxiety
like-
is kind of what the movie wants you to feel.
Yeah, because like the main character, she definitely feels out of place. The whole time I was like, I'm hurt. That's me.
Yes.
When you
kind
go,
of, yes.
everybody else
Dude,
is
I would have
like,
gone home
you're-
hours ago.
you're out of place
Well,
and you're just like, I don't know these people. They've all known each other for a long time. I'm out of my tax bracket here.
Right.
And she's Russian.
There's an
right?
othering to her. That's
Yeah.
she is suspicious because she's foreign.
She's foreign.
She's
yeah.
suspicious to this group of people
They don't know
basically
her.
because she's not qualified to be there essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So no, I don't think that this is a critique over an entire generation. I think everyone has a little stand-in for a prejudice almost.
Yeah.
And they're going to eat each other. So, Lindsay, let's start Bodies.
Okay. All right. So we start the movie with 2 girls gratuitously
Just-
making out.
Yeah,
Just
that's, I
tongue
started, my first note just says, really, instant tongues. Because we were
Instant
just like
tongues.
close up on their tongues. And I was like, is this sexy?
No.
That was the other thing that made me think, did a man do this? Because
No.
there are so many lesbians. There's
Yes.
lesbians and heterosexual making out, which is dude coded.
Correct.
And
no,
at one point, 2 male characters get really close. I know they're fighting each other, but they get really close to each other. And I was like, kiss. And then they didn't. And I was like, that's a man. Fucking man wrote
this
that.
is ladies all the way down from director to script and to story creation. I think they're of a generation older than the
Yes.
characters portrayed in the story for the most part.
Yeah.
So there might be some sort of old lady yelling at cloud about a younger generation, but I think there is this is also a thing that happened with What Is It that just did a big splash. Demi Moore and
The Substance.
The Substance. The Substance was male gaze to a
Yeah.
degree that I was like, this young woman, I know every crevice of her body. And I think it's almost parody.
Yeah.
I think
Well, that's
it's a
what I was
woman
like,
going
is it like
this is what you'll like,
critique? Yeah.
Isn't it? Yeah.
Well, I mean, it could also be a statement on just what women have been taught to be like, too.
Sure.
Especially this younger generation when they're inundated with it on the internet and television, and they are taught that this is how they're supposed to act, so that they do that from a young age, you know?
This woman is also, the director is Dutch. So this, I believe, is her first American thing. So maybe she's also looking into America.
Yeah, definitely American.
The class stuff in this and whatever, and making her own critique.
Yeah.
She might just be an asshole, too. I'm not saying she is. I have no idea.
Never met her in real life.
Okay, anyways.
All right, let's get past the tongue kissing.
Okay, so one of the girls says that they love the other one, and the other one does not reciprocate, but she's like happy, I guess, or something, or she's smiling.
So the one who says I love you is Sophie. Right?
Yep.
Played by Amanda Steenberg.
Do we know her?
She was Rue in The Hunger Games.
Yes, that's why I have her.
I don't know
was
her.
in the Hunger Games. And then basically our main character is the other girl. She's B.
B, yeah.
She's played by Maria Bakalov. And hilariously, I only know her as the voice from Cosmo the Space Dog and Guardians of the Galaxy 3.
Oh, really?
She's also the voice of the
Really?
princess in Creature Commandos.
Oh, cute.
So
okay.
that's what I know her from.
So, well, it was really a nice little statement when they first get back into the car. They're both just like immediately on their cell phones, just typing next to each other. They're like,
Silence.
it's another little statement
And
about Gen Z, I guess.
Did anyone? Okay.
Slater's Daddy as Fuck is playing.
I love that. That song is on my playlist. You've probably heard it.
I
as
literally
soon as
think
I
this
heard
is
that
why
song-
the soundtrack to this movie is probably why we told you.
Yeah, as soon as that's like literally the next thing is like after they're tongue kissing in the woods and then they get back in the car and then it's like daddy as fuck. Daddy as fuck. And I was like, I know this song. And we should say that Slater, it's 3 Y's, so it's Slater.
I'm not doing that. Typing out the names of everybody in this movie made me feel like an old man too, because it's not Amanda, it's Amandla.
Oh yeah, sorry.
Yeah, it's so all of their names have like one syllable off of what an old man would write. Anyway,
Okay.
who cares?
All right, so anyways.
After they're done on their phones, the two girls are heading towards Sophie's friend's estate.
Yes. Okay. So B is like on her cell, and I'm assuming she's like talking about this crew, and she's like talking about how cool they are. So I'm assuming she's like looking at pictures or something.
She's looking at their social media.
Yeah. But then her phone keeps going off, and she says it's her mom talking to her.
Right.
So as we get up to the gate to get into this estate, the car window won't go down. You know, so it gets stuck a couple
Right.
inches.
We have Chekhov's car window, which
Yeah,
is
which tricked me for a second because then I was like, oh, is Sophie also out of her element here
Because
because
her-
she's driving like a little beater?
yes, but also she kind of is out of her element. She's ostracized from this friend group.
Yeah.
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 You find out later.
We do. So they arrived at the mansion, and B goes back to the car to get what looks like a banana bread.
Yeah, I know. I wrote that down. I was like, oh, she's so sweet.
She is really
She's sweet.
sweet.
And
really
she's
sweet.
like, oh, I gotta get the banana bread, and I was like, they are not gonna treat that well. I can
No, they're
already,
not. No,
And-
they're not.
I can
and
already
she-
feel.
and-
But she pulls down the mirror
And
on
she's
the...
practicing her smile. She's
and
practicing
she's
her face.
fluffing her eyebrows.
Yeah, she's afraid that she's out of her element because she very much is.
And then we see that she leaves the mirror open so the light stays on.
It's
That
cool.
bothered me immediately.
Me
I
too.
was like,
no,
"Close
don't do
Well,
that.
it's a great moment. This movie's shot really well.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of excellent stuff going on in this flick. So as B leaves the car, she runs off out of focus, and the camera's in the back seat of the car, just kind of ominously moving in on that light that's still
It's telling
on.
us everything we need to know in the beginning.
Yeah, B is running into this estate. Now,
We're
this
cutting to the pool.
this place is huge.
It is huge.
It's remote. It's woods all around it, and it is a ginormous mansion.
Yeah, it is huge.
And we cut to the pool where all
We
of
don't
our
really
other
know where they are, but
No.
there are mentions of people not knowing how to drive, so they have to be like near a city or something somewhere.
Okay.
Who knows? Or they've always had a driver. It could be that.
Yeah.
Yeah, whatever. Okay. So we cut to a pool, and we have a group of people that are underwater. They're obviously playing who can hold their breath the longest.
I didn't think that was obvious.
It was
to me.
so obvious to me. I mean, like, they're just down there.
It's only until.
But you
Penny
don't
comes
swim,
out.
Michael.
I
You
don't. So
play
yeah,
in pools.
I don't know why people would play a game where it's like, how long can I die?
I like when I would do that and like go underwater for a long time. What I always liked is that it's peaceful.
Yeah.
It's like
Sure.
quiet. There's especially if you're in like a public pool or something where there's just so much
Yeah.
noise and people. And when you go under there, it's like God, there's really something wrong with me. And when you go under, it's like quiet and calm, and you're like,
See, and I immediately start going, I can't breathe.
Yeah. Okay, well, so underneath it we see there's a couple couples and another girl.
Yeah.
Right? There's like 5 people.
So we'll just go through them. We're going to cut to David, who's played by Pete Davidson, and Emma, played by Chase Sue Wonders. They're a couple. Mm-hmm. And then we move over to Jordan, played by Malia Harold. Mm-hmm. I'm probably doing that name wrong. And she's on her own. She's the one that's not coupled up. And then we cut to our last couple, which is Greg, played by Lee Pace.
Yep.
Who is, I'm going to do From the Fall and Pushing Daisies. 2 things that
some old stuff here.
I love both.
The Foundation.
I love both of those things.
Halt and Catch Fire.
No,
And
haven't seen it.
also
Guardians of the fucking Galaxy.
Oh, come on. Ronan the Accuser is not a big character in those movies.
He is a big character.
he's in the
that
Hobbit
movie.
movies.
He's in lots of things. We love Lee
He's in lots of things. I
But
picked
also,
the 2 that I love the most.
I was like, what the fuck, Lee Pace? 'Cause
Yeah, I know.
I'm like, what are you? He's giving that like, I'm dating a young girl.
Yeah,
and you're like,
I'm a 45-year-old man dating a 20-year-old, and I love him in this because he's
actually not that
he's
bad.
kind of the cool one.
Yeah, he is the
except
cool one.
he's
Except
there
for that-
fucking this 20-year-old.
yeah, except for you're like,
He has an inherent ick
Yeah.
to being there in
He
the
does
first
have
place.
an inherent ick. And then
And
there's Alice.
The person that he is
that's the
in a
one who's in
relationship
Shiva, baby.
is Alice, and that's played by
She's
Rachel
also
Sano.
in that movie with the girl from The Bear, where they're lesbians and they're trying to get laid.
Bottoms.
Bottoms.
Yes.
They are apparently.
Are they writing partners?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
writing
nice.
partners.
Yeah, I like her. She's really funny. This was like a very out of the box role for me for when I saw her in this.
So the thing that got me immediately is like once they get out of the pool, and then Alice is like, "Oh my God, Sophie, you're here!"
Yes, and then
Sophie's like, "I love the podcast,"
I
and
know,
Alice is
yeah.
like, "Oh my God, thank you. We have another podcast." And I was like, "That hits too close
Yeah,
to
I
home."
love it. It felt so bad the second time watching because between the 2 viewings, I started a podcast, and it's so snarky.
Yeah.
It's just so fake to be like, oh, and I'm listening to your podcast, and I'm like, fuck.
Yeah, I'm like, "Oh no, we're Alice."
yeah, we are Alice.
We are Alice. So yeah, Sophie has shown up. Everyone is.
So
fake.
everybody gets out of the pool. They all are like, "What is Sophie doing here?
There's
Yeah.
very much a why are you?
Why
here
are you here? You don't respond in the friend group." This fucking chat group is such a character in this movie. Like, it's so ridiculous. Why is this chat group so important?
What is it's the toxic group that's the friends that have known each other for so long. There's one big group chat, and then there are side group chats that definitely exist that contain only some of them.
Right.
And sometimes in the side groups, people in the side groups are talking shit on people in the main group, but theirs is like super toxic, and you can see that definitely everybody is talking shit about everybody in a side group. Everybody has a thing. They're like, "Oh, we're friends," but everybody definitely has a thing about somebody.
And this is hilarious because you're talking about like not all Gen Z, but you're
I'm talking
explaining
about
something that it literally happens in your life.
I'm not Gen Z.
She's millennial.
Whatever.
Whatever. He said
no,
to
what-
me.
what-
Oh,
I-
whatever.
No. I said all whatever because I mixed up my terminology.
Oh,
Because
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
Gen X and I don't give a fuck about any of this. Sophie goes, I'm bad at chat. I told you that I was coming and you didn't, whatever, but you guys didn't see it because I'm bad at chat.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
at first I'm like, oh, that's a plot hole because this person's definitely fine with chat. But also I'm the one in all y'all's chat group that just mutes you and forgets.
Or
drops out.
exits the group. You just exit it.
That's what happens. But I think the fact that it's moved to like group chats, but it's just an evolution of something that's already been happening for generations. Because I also just, if you've watched the most recent season of White Lotus, there's the 3 women who are like in their 40s are friends and have been friends forever, but there are always scenes where it's all 3 of them talking together, but then 2 of them will be together and talking shit on the third one who's not there, and then they'll mix it up and 2 others will. So I think it's more of a long-standing female friendship.
It is
thing.
long-standing female friendship.
That's a
thing. That does
generational
happen.
thing because it's sort of like a passive-aggressive thing because you don't want to like...
You don't want to lose your friend. You don't want to hurt their feelings.
And you do love them.
But
and you do care about them. But sometimes you have to vent.
You
and
have
so
to
you
vent.
Pick another friend who knows that person also and is like,
I
did you
get it.
fucking
I
see
mean-
that shit? But theirs is like toxic up to 11.
Yeah, that's bad.
And I don't literally have any friends. So because I just
So what it is,
decided not
Michael,
to do
is a
this.
friendship thing.
Okay. I understand.
With any relationship,
Okay, we are only 10 minutes into this movie. We need to continue. Okay,
You
so
invited me in. This is how it
10
always
minutes into
goes
this movie.
when I start talking.
okay, so Alice runs into the house and gets a bottle of champagne.
Right.
And gets Greg to open it. And so like he goes inside and gets a sword and
Yeah.
comes out with and just chops the top
Which
open.
I love because Pete is so pouty.
Oh my god, he's so
Pete
jealous.
is-
And he has a black eye that they don't explain.
We don't know what the black guy's going on
And then
yet.
he's so pouty. And then when Greg goes in and gets the sword to like open it, he was like, "Where'd you get?" He was like, "It was on the wall." He was like, "Don't just take shit off the wall."
So
Yeah.
we know that this is
This
Pete
is
David's
David's
family's
house. It's
house.
Yeah,
David's
because he's
house.
like, "Don't touch my dad's shit." Which
is-
honestly, I get it.
This is called sabering, which got really popular online.
Did it?
Where you take this kind of like cutlass sword.
Yeah, it's
and
almost like a
open the
cutlass.
champagne.
It's not
cut
quite
the
right.
whole
Yeah.
neck off, which is wildly stupid and dangerous. You're
dangerous.
potentially pulling pieces of glass into
Sure.
your drink. It's so dumb.
But Greg
But-
does it so effortlessly.
He does.
Just one swipe.
And Greg
Everybody's
is
like, "Oh my god!"
big and hot. The only other dude there, and David is
He's
very
baby.
obviously insecure.
Oh, yeah.
insecure about this man.
Yeah, well, so they all cheer to the hurricane party. So they are all here because there is a hurricane
Yeah,
coming.
which was my first. I was like, "What?" Because when B walked into the house earlier, she passed a table that
Table
had
of flashlights.
like flashlights
There's
and
like
batteries.
35
Bottled water.
flashlights.
And I was like, "What the fuck are they doing?" Which gave me like, I was like, "Oh my god, they're preparing for this." But then when they said it's a hurricane, I was like, "Oh, they're preparing for disaster." But who has a party during fucking disaster?
Well, rich people.
Rich
I think
people.
that's exactly what this is. Is like if you're going to be holed up, you're going. I mean, I think this group would have any reason.
Now,
to
don't
have a
tell
party.
me that the time that you guys end up at Susie's house for a tornado, you guys didn't then devolve into a party situation.
Yeah, but
That's
that
what
was
I'm
impromptu. Because and we ended up there. We ended up there because we had no basement.
I've never had. There's no time when we get together that we're not having a party. It's not. We're here to. We're having a party right now.
The
You're right.
The storm had started. The sirens were going off.
Oh my god.
And Susie,
God.
at that time, her house was like just blocks away from where our apartment was. We had no place to go. So we just called and we were like, "Yo, are you guys home? Can we drop in and hang in your basement just in case this gets bad?" And then because it's Susie, then she's like, "Who wants tequila shots?" And we're like, "Well,
And this is why
we're
the
here."
meme has started in our family of there was a storm.
There
Yeah,
was
we're
a
not.
storm.
My T-shirt design got rejected. So, as the champagne is going around, it's Sophie tells everybody that she's sober,
sober.
which everyone is snarks at
Yeah.
for various reasons. There's levels going
Yes.
on here. Where,
Yes,
where
there are.
Clearly, this girl is outside of this friend group.
Yep.
And probably because of
And
drugs
B,
or something.
Yeah, B
and-
initially also rejects that. She's like, "No, it's fine." Like,
Okay.
I guess in
Initially,
support
yeah.
of Sophie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then thunder rolls.
Thunder,
We're running inside.
yes. And then Dave grabs Sophie to talk in private, and they go into like a study,
Right.
and they
there's
leave
that
B alone.
Super young photo of Pete Davidson hanging on the wall.
It's so cute.
In
Which
his
I-
little, like tuxedo.
I
or whatever.
love when movies take like an actual young photo of the actor and like put it on there. 'Cause
Yeah.
I'm like, that is hysterical.
Now, is this where we talk about your crush on Pete Davidson, or do we
Sure.
move that later? down the line?
Well, the whole time he is sort of an asshole, but
He's the worst.
there's like you can tell it's all stemming from insecurity, which then still gives you, which is a thing he always does, gives you that thing of like, oh,
Yeah,
I'm sorry
unfortunately,
you're sad.
I can relate to Pete Davidson's
David's
insecurity
character
on this.
needs
Let's put it that way.
therapy. He
Yeah.
needs the therapy.
I've
bad.
never been this bad, but I understand being in a room where you want to be cooler than that other person and
Yeah.
just like not, you're never gonna do it.
Well, I mean, like, why? Because you're like always the funniest person in the room.
It's not. Yeah, but that's how I got to be the funniest.
Weeded out all those other assholes.
Practice. Understood.
I don't know.
But
I don't
yeah,
know. It's
so
just-
David takes Sophie into the other room to like talk.
Talk.
they're
yeah.
they're best friends.
Yes,
from-
they are supposedly
from preschool.
preschool best friends.
Yeah.
So in the conversation with Sophie and David, the group chat again is fucking brought up.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah.
And then we find out that Greg was in the military and is here with Alice.
Right.
And then she found him on Tinder. David thinks he's hotter. David thinks he's hotter than Lee Pace.
Yeah,
So
he
Which
keeps
is
asking.
insane.
It's
He
insane.
keeps asking Sophie. He was like, "Do you think I'm hotter?" But like, I'm cooler than
I'm
him. right?
hot. Yeah.
No, he's like, here's the thing.
like, but you
I
look-
fuck. I clearly look like
Look,
I
look,
fuck.
yes.
And I'm like, you don't.
You don't, man. No, you
But
don't.
Pete Davidson in real life, canonically, he fucks.
Apparently the boy fucks.
But then David has a black eye. We find out that Max just up and chucked him a punch in the eye yesterday and then left.
We don't know who Max is.
Max
is
the
the
missing
boogeyman
friend.
of this
And
thing.
they all talk about it. I'm like, oh, we know Max forever. He was our friend, whatever.
Yeah.
But then he's not there. And
Where's
all you know
Max?
is that he just like
Is
he
Max back?
punched him and then disappeared.
Yeah.
Which you're like, that cannot be all the story.
Right.
No.
So while they're having their conversation, B is starting to hang out with the other girls of the group, okay? And they start to film a TikTok.
Oh, well, first, though, there's that scene with Jordan and B in the hallway.
Right, well, she tells her to be careful.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and Jordan is so creepy because she is so
right
close
in your
to
face.
me.
Intense.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's another thing that gave me anxiety. I'd be like, why are you so
She's
close?
obviously an ex-girlfriend.
Yeah, she's
Yeah.
obviously
Obviously.
into
Also, I
Sophie.
hate to do this, but I just want to jump back to the very end of the conversation with David and Sophie. There's this little breakdown where David's just like, what are you doing here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she's just like,
I
I
missed
missed
you,
you.
man. Yeah.
And Pete does a smile and goes, no one has ever missed me. And they both laugh, and it's genuine.
Yeah.
These two people are actually
friends.
like each other.
Yeah.
And it's one of the only moments in this movie that you get that.
Yeah.
And a
'Cause
lot
they-
of the movie just hangs on them being human for
They
that
clearly had a real
Childhood
friendship.
Yeah.
And they
Before
had
money,
they had a
before-
friendship falling out
Yeah.
that they're trying to like. It's awkward, but they're trying to
If
get.
they had time, they probably would have repaired it in their older age.
Yeah,
I love
But-
that moment. So
Yeah.
that,
And then there's also the mention Sophie's asked David, "Have you talked to my parents?"
yeah,
Yes.
that's right in
yes.
there too.
Yes. Okay, so they've done the TikTok, and now it's party time. Everyone is dancing.
Yeah,
Jordan
that's
is
what-
being really
when
weird
they're-
and jealous.
When they're doing the TikTok, that's when I was like, this group is so unserious. And also, Lee, what are you doing here? Because he's doing the TikToks with them. And I was like,
is.
what is happening?
He just wants to be 20 again.
Well, he's he's
I mean,
getting
22.
very,
They just graduated college.
He's getting very young tail, and this is what
this
his
is how he gets it.
girlfriend,
He
who
participates.
his girlfriend hangs out with, so
Yeah.
he's just there.
He's
Yeah.
just like, well, that's fine.
It's very funny. I
Yeah.
just love Lee Pace in this because he's just. It cuts to him like playing along with all their games, and then every once in a while he's just like, "How do I negotiate this room of children?"
yeah.
Okay, so as they're all dancing, David has done a bunch of coke and he's weirdly bitey, and so his girlfriend gets all
Yeah.
mad and huffs
Yeah,
off.
because he keeps
Biting
she's
her.
like, what the fuck? And then
Now
there's-
let's talk about
Oh yeah,
everybody's
there's more.
experience with cocaine.
There's more gratuitous making out in this because they're all just like in a room, they're dancing, but then like
They're also
they're
making out,
each
yeah.
making out, and I'm like, what the fuck?
And this is very much everyone's coupled up making out, and Jordan is off to the side, just kind of watching.
Nah,
The movie
have
does a pretty
anybody
good
to-
job of.
Well, and in this, isn't this part also where Jordan and B are like dancing really closely too?
yeah, they dance
Yeah.
for a while.
She
because
gets
Jordan
up and-
is obviously jealous, and she's like trying to like take Sophie's girlfriend kind of shit.
Right.
You know, being really weird. So
And poor B, I just think is really naive and is like, they're accepting me.
Yeah.
We're friends.
Yeah.
Let's dance with. And she just genuinely seems nice. She's just getting to know people, and we'll just dance with them. And she's like, it's fine.
So
We can
then-
be friends.
then it becomes who wants to play bodies, bodies, bodies. Now
Yeah.
that's Sophie who says that, right?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So they decide to play bodies, 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 but first they have a weird slap shot game.
Yeah, it's really cool. They sit in a circle and punch the fuck out of each other.
But
Yeah.
then this is another thing when I like Pete Davidson, because when it becomes, they form like a circle. It's like a slap
Yeah,
circle.
you slap
Each
and
person
then take a
slaps the
shot.
person. Jordan slaps the fuck out of B, like
Yeah.
holds
Mm-hmm.
nothing back. And then B is supposed to turn
just like,
around and slap Pete Davidson's character, and he does that little fucking smile that he does.
No, come on.
And then she's like, oh, just a little slap.
Come on.
And he's like, no, you can do it. And part of me is like, no, you don't want to slap him. But everybody else in the friend group is like, he deserves
Yeah,
it.
you should hit
He's,
this.
I know he seems charming, but he's also a dick. Slap
And then
him
he
in the
proves
face.
it that he's a
Just
dick by
turns
going,
around
no,
and
do it like
decks
this.
Greg.
And punches Greg
Yeah, he's
right
like,
in the
no,
cheek
you
next
got to
to
do it like this. Bah.
him. Which isn't how they've been doing it.
No.
It's been
No.
open hand slap.
Open hand slapping,
He
yeah.
punches Greg right in the face, which I'm like, this man is so much bigger than you.
Yes.
What are you
I
doing?
also appreciate that they did set it up, although how that was never going to work. They set it up so that a guy hits a guy, but then Lee Pace's
Well, it was
Greg would
going
have had to
slap his own girlfriend, I think.
Yeah.
Anyway.
It's fine. They never got that far. So.
No. Then
Okay.
he walked out of the group.
Okay, so David has punched Greg, and he gets pissy, but whatever.
But
But,
holds it in and walks away.
yes, and so like at this point, I'm like, this is I have an
Because
existential
he's
thing where I
because
have my
Lee's a
own notes. I'm like,
grown-up.
I hate everybody here. why the fuck is Greg here? Why has Sober Sophie dragged her girlfriend to this obviously drug-filled house?
Well, it seems like the ulterior motive is she might like David as a friend, but she also wants him ultimately to talk to her parents.
Yeah.
That's like, as soon as she asked about it in that private conversation, you're like, that's what she's here for.
Whatever you think about this movie, the script is so good. It explains, there's layers and layers.
I mean, they all
and
feel
layers.
like real people I've met in real life.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I agree with that. And there's motivations that aren't, this is subtext for days.
Yeah.
It's just like, maybe we'll get to the black guy. Maybe we'll get to this whole thing is fucked up. Alice is clueless and just having fun. Emma is like, everyone is
Alice
like
is-
different levels.
I was
Why
like-
is Greg here? Like, all of it is like, what is happening? And it makes you anxious.
I love
Alice is a clueless dummy, but she is ultimately harmless. She
She's the
wishes.
best of them.
Oh my God, I agree.
She
Yeah.
wishes
She's the
no
best of them.
ill will.
She's the
Yeah.
only one
on
I would have been
anyone.
friends with, but not the kind I take home. We go to brunch only.
She always has one too many mimosas and a second location you don't want to go to.
Yes, exactly.
She also always says, whenever somebody says a critique of someone else, she always goes, yeah. She like agrees with and then that person who got critiqued will bring up a critique of the opposite person, and she's like, oh yeah. She's on everyone's side.
She is.
She's there to agree with
She
everyone.
doesn't
She's
have her
like,
own personality.
She's like, ooh, yes, I see that too.
Except for she has this lovely little podcast where she hangs out with.
I want to know Alice's podcast.
She
What do you
talks
think-
about her podcast.
What?
Do you remember the name of the podcast?
I don't remember the name of
Hanging
it.
around with the
funniest,
the coolest person in the
people.
room, or something like that.
Yeah, because she's like,
that's literally the name
So
of her
it's kinda,
podcast.
it's
'Cause
kind of
she-
your other podcast?
because she's talking about, because at one point they're talking about, and they're like, what's your podcast? And she's like, hanging with like the best, coolest, smartest people you know. And
Which
I was
is
like,
kind of sweet too.
yeah, because it's
so
like she
sweet.
just meets all people, and she's like, this
She's like,
person's
this
the
is the
best,
best.
And interesting and cool, and what do you have to talk
She's
about?
the kind of person who likes everybody.
Yeah.
and
Yeah, she's positive.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
The only positive person.
The only positive person.
Okay, so anyways,
Anyway.
so they're about to play bodies by bodies, and the lights go out,
Right. So
which is part of the game.
Yeah,
wanna-
they turn the lights.
Yeah.
yeah, the rules are brief here. Everyone gets a piece of paper. If you get the one with the X on it, you're the murderer. They turn off the lights. Everyone goes around, and basically, if you're the murderer, you go up and you like kill someone by tapping them. If you're tapped, you lay down and pretend to be dead.
It's basically werewolf.
Yeah, it's mobile werewolf.
Yeah.
You're walking around, and if you stumble upon a dead person, you yell bodies, 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 and there's like a tribunal, like in Werewolf, where you come together and try to figure out
Who the killer
who
is.
the killer is.
Yeah. Okay. So we're with B, and she's crawling around with her phone flashlight. And then we see Alice, who has chemical light jewelry on
Yeah.
everywhere.
Yeah, she's got like
and
the
she
glow
takes off
sticks.
running. And
So
then Greg
much-
spooks B from behind and then runs away.
Yeah, there's a lot of so much of this movie now becomes the visuals of it are great because it's lit by cell phones in the mansion. It's lit by
Jewelry,
like
yeah.
The
chemical jewelry,
lights is so cool. And then the storm folio work on the storm is so good.
It
It's
is.
pulsing
It's just constant.
and then rumbling and
Yeah.
like it's that like punishing rain and then it lets up and it's just like oh shit
There's a
it
storm.
feels like a real
Yeah.
storm out there. It traps the people in this.
They are
space.
trapped. So then somebody yells, bodies, bodies, bodies. Everybody goes running. The lights go up. And Greg is face down on the floor
Yep.
as our dead body. As they're discussing who the fake murderer is, B notices that Greg isn't moving. And so
I
then
know.
they start...
I was like, oh my god, we're seconds away from finding our first real dead body.
Nope. A long time from now.
So then they start to freak out, but Dave gets him to move by putting a bottle on his dick. And
No, he taps his balls, which
Yeah.
will 100% work.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't have that.
Yeah, he goes, this always works.
This always works. You
And
tap the
doesn't-
balls, you're like, hey, stop.
And then Lee Pace is like, "Ugh."
Then David just kind of devolves into a raging dick, and he's picking on everyone, and he's
yes.
super mean.
I wrote here, Peter, you dick.
Yeah. To both Greg and Emma, his girlfriend. And then the rest of the group at that moment decide that he's the killer, and they all vote for him, and then he just like slams his hand into a glass figurine
Yep.
and leaves.
Well, they
like, "Fuck you
they
all."
turned on because they were like, Jordan's really defensive.
Yeah,
she's
everybody
the
turns
killer.
on each other.
Then they're like, Emma's the killer because she's an actress, and they keep mentioning this play she was in.
Where she
Yeah.
can cry on demand,
Yeah,
stuff like that.
so-
yeah.
And then Emma says that David is gaslighting her.
Yeah.
Right.
And then
he's
he
like,
goes on a comment
that
about that
word
word.
is overused.
It doesn't mean any. You're just picking that, and then he also picks a fight with Lee Pace, and that's when they get really close because Lee Pace is like, well, the best defense is a good offense.
Like,
And
what
he's
does
just
that
like,
mean?
What's that mean? What's that mean? No, he has to learn. And then they get up really close to each other, like in that.
I mean,
and
to
I'm
be
like,
fair, this scene was pretty drawn out, and I was just like, Lee, you should know what that means and be able to put it in different words.
Well, I like, but Lee's kind of dumb. I kind of like this scene because
it does tell us
because
that
Pete Davidson is that guy to be like, no, this is a teachable moment, and I'm like, boy,
you don't get to teach.
I've been in rooms where that would get you hit.
Yeah.
Just saying.
when they get so close to, which is what John said, I can never do it because someone would probably beat me up. But I always think when men get really close to each other, like they're gonna fight, that it would be funny if one of them was just like,
It would be, but then you get
and then
you
they
get
get
hit.
Yeah. But that's what I wanted in that moment. Pete Davidson and Lee Pace so close, and I was
mean, you don't know it, but they could have done that as they were filming it.
So this is a room I've been in. I've been in a white trash version of this party
this
before.
Is the part? Okay.
Yes, everyone has done too much, too many drugs, too many substances, rational thoughts gone out the window. People are getting, misunderstandings and getting mad and trying to keep it all together. And they're like one spilled beer away from fucking, killing, and eating each other. And maybe not in that order. And there's a moment there where you're like, I gotta leave this party.
Yeah.
And
no, I mean, to be fair,
they can't leave this party.
When I was younger, and if I was in an environment like this, which I had been in, I'm always the first one to go to sleep because I don't want to participate. So I would have found a bed in a corner.
well, and that's
gone
what
to sleep.
that's exactly what Greg does.
That's
he
what
was
Greg
like,
does.
This is what
He's
Greg
like,
does.
whatever, I'm dead. I'm going to bed.
Yeah. And I mean, that's literally what he does. Yes. And that is me. I am the person who escapes the situation.
Yeah.
And if I can't go home, I find a corner to sleep.
So it all gets too intense, and Greg, as the mature one, who really shouldn't be here, goes, I'm going to put myself to bed, and walks out of the room.
He's just like,
Right.
fine.
So the lights go out. For real this
For
time.
real.
Yeah,
this time.
because
The storm takes them out.
they're doing the slap game
Yeah,
again.
they're doing the slap game again. Yes, you're right. The fucking shots. And then the lights go out. There's also no service and no Wi-Fi. Because they
Right.
made
Yeah.
comments about there's no service, there's no Wi-Fi.
Yeah, and Sophie is yelling because she thinks that David
did it.
like
Yeah.
he was pouty.
He's fucking on them.
And-
Because Dave is also missing now. He
Yeah.
stormed off.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because David, yes.
And
'cause it's just the
she's
girls
like
left.
yelling, and then they're like, all right, well, we'll go break up and look for people.
And then Jordan is obviously the adult of this situation.
Sort of,
yeah. So she goes to go flip the breaker back on. B goes to the bathroom. Alice goes to get flashlights. And I'm guessing Emma also went to the bathroom? I can't remember.
They all kind of separate out.
Yeah.
I like B in this part. There's a security component to this power outage where there's like security red lights going,
There
like
are,
thrumming
yeah,
on and off.
yeah.
It's another thing that looks kind of cool and
Battery
ominous in
operated
this.
emergency.
And
lights,
then
yeah.
when B goes to she goes down the stairs to find the bathroom, she walks by that dog bag.
Yeah, I'm like, where's the
and
dog?
that big ass dog bone.
Yeah.
And I'm
Where's
like,
the dog?
I
It's
was like,
literally only to set up a
I'm like,
dog door, which is a
well,
dog tunnel later.
Yeah,
because
the
it's a
house.
big ass dog,
I guess.
for sure. Did you see the size of that bone?
Yeah, but I want the
Where is
dog.
the dog?
Yeah, that is what I
That's
said. I
the
was
thing,
like,
it's like,
let's
where is this
ask the
dog?
important questions. Where is the dog?
Yeah. That's literally, I wrote the exact same thing. I went, where is the dog?
All these assholes, where's the dog?
There are weaknesses to this
There are.
movie
There are.
completely. It's
There
like,
are.
I don't know where the broken window in the car later on is just there to be
Yeah.
Yeah,
later on.
it
It's
is,
just
yeah.
like,
there are some. There are actually certain notes that I didn't put in here until it became important, and then I went back
you're
in.
like, oh,
Yeah.
that is important.
So
yeah.
shit, I gotta put that back in. Okay, anyway, so
My notes are just free flowing. Anytime I'm like, there's a thought.
Yeah.
There's a thought. There's a thought.
Okay, we're close to a corpse.
Downstairs. So B has managed to go downstairs because that's where the bathroom is, and she is startled by David banging against the window.
Yes.
And then Sophie shows up and says, "Oh, not those stairs. You're supposed to go down a different pair of stairs." But whatever. And then David bangs on the window again because B is still staring as Sophie's talking, and then Sophie now sees David on the window, and then she screams and runs outside, and they start yelling for help.
'Cause there's like
David's
Bloody.
neck
He's
is
bloody.
coming out of
slashed
his neck.
open. He's
David's neck is cut open. He's bleeding really bad. So the girls all freak. There's no landline. Jordan decides to go for help and get Sophie's
all
keys.
these girls, zero help in a crisis.
No.
Nobody's trying to apply pressure to that
No.
wound.
Nope.
And then they're
No.
like, don't touch him. We can't move him. And I was like, what the? It's still a medical emergency.
Yes.
It's not yet a murder.
They're-
Bring him inside
Yes.
out of the fucking storm.
well, and the whole thing is like you're not supposed to move them. Is like from like spinal
She's
injury.
like,
They're just repeating
she's like
shit
for
they've
criminal
heard.
for the CSI people
Yeah.
to come in. And like, he's
Yeah.
not dead yet.
Yeah, I was like,
Jesus
so
Christ.
Who are you talking about coming in? You haven't called anyone.
Yeah, it was like, and you can tell someone when they come in, oh, we
That you
pulled
moved
him
him.
inside because he was bleeding. And yeah, they
They're all
just
just dumb-dumbs.
immediately,
Yeah.
and then they're just like, we got to get out of here.
Then all of the girls
Yeah.
leave together.
And where the
to-
fuck's Greg? We left Greg. We don't
Well,
care
Greg
about
went
Greg.
to sleep,
Greg went to
remember?
sleep.
Yeah, but they are about to get in the car
Yeah.
and fucking flee and
Yeah,
leave
he's not
Greg there
important. Yeah.
with a dead body.
Yeah, they are. So they all get to the car. There's a big branch on the front, and then they get inside, and the car won't start because the battery is dead.
Because
because
B
she
left
left
the
she left the
light
Would that really
light
drain
on.
the whole battery? It's such a tiny light.
It would not drain the
It would
battery.
not.
in
I
that time.
know it should
Absolutely
not have.
I
If
think
she had
the
left the
more-
dome light on for like overnight, yes,
Yeah.
but like
I
no.
feel it's more important that there is a tree branch across.
Correct. Like it
the
would have
front
been
of the
better,
car.
but whatever. And then they talk about how like there's no more other cars because missing Max took the other
Because
only
Max
other car.
drove all of them there, and Max is still MIA from
yep.
the movie entirely.
Yes.
Which
So then
I
they get
love the running Max joke.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
very
yeah.
good.
They go back inside, and then Jordan finds the sword outside in the mud, covered in blood.
Which he picked up and brought in, which I was like, okay, well, that's fucking
They're
suspicious.
dumb.
There's a thing you shouldn't move.
So then they're like, where is Max? That becomes a thing. They talk about him some more because they think like maybe he's come back and he's fucking with them. Because
Yeah.
they want to know who's fucking with them. Who has killed David? And they go with Max because Max literally hit David yesterday because Max is in love with Emma.
They all
Yeah.
they all did shrooms the day previous, and Max declared love for Emma, and that's where the punch
Which
came
then
from.
leaks out as to why, in particular, David had been so insecure this
Right.
weekend because another man just said that he
Loves his
loved his
girlfriend.
girlfriend. So now every guy, he's like, aren't I enough?
This
Which is
feels-
Pete Davidson's whole vibe, and I just
Yeah, no, it's good.
want to kiss his sad little face.
It feels like, even though all this drama is tedious and whatever, it feels very real. I
Yeah.
feel like whoever wrote this was at this part.
Oh, yeah, this has definitely
And so
happened.
this
Yeah.
shit happened.
And they have a really
just-
good recall for...
Yeah, for reasons why people are stupid
Yeah.
to each other.
So Jordan starts wondering where Greg is, and she grabs a meat cleaver out of a drawer, and then they ask Alice, like, what she knows about him, how long she's known him, like, what's his last name, what's his middle name,
And
all
poor-
this stuff.
and poor
she's
Alice
like,
is
he's
like,
a Libra moon! He's
Yes,
a
she's like,
Libra
that
moon!
is my favorite thing. She's like, I've known him for like a while.
She's like,
What's
how
a-
long have you
what's
known
a-
him? She's like,
like,
long? Like, 2 weeks.
Like 2 weeks? What's his? He's a Libra. He wouldn't do that because he's a Libra moon.
This is the one time Alice is just like, why? I'm sweet and nice. Why are you calling this into question?
Oh, you poor hippie girl.
She's the best.
And then in this chaos, Emma just fucking leaves
Yeah,
the room.
she just disappears. Yeah.
You're like, what the fuck, Emma?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then Alice starts yelling for Greg to wake him up, and then they silence her, and she's
Yeah.
like, "You're silencing me!" And they realize
hate
that
that.
Emma's missing. So then they go look for her. They go look
They're
for Greg first.
Greg, and
Yeah,
so they're
sorry.
just checking the bedrooms because he said he was supposed to go to bed.
Yeah.
Right, and
so-
what they find is Greg's
go bag.
go bag, which to them seems scary. There's
Yeah.
like a knife
It looks
in
like a
there,
murder kit instead of a go bag.
except it's a hurricane survival bag. So there is a map with the
The
Yeah.
house
the
circled.
house circled.
There's a big
which-
knife, a big
like,
hunting
but if
knife.
they were, I don't know why he would circle the house. Maybe he's
It's a
old
little-
school, and that's how he was.
I mean,
getting,
the
I have
guy's
no idea.
old school.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
is old school.
So,
But that's
Well, he
what,
has
yeah,
a headlamp
I mean,
that Jordan
they're-
steals.
Yeah, they're so
immediately.
suspicious of the bag. I was like, you guys literally brought 2 tons of like batteries and water,
Right.
and this guy is older
and knows what
to
a real
pack
bag is like.
ahead. And so I was like, this doesn't seem like a murder bag so much as he's like, we gotta bring these things just in
A
just
hurricane
in case.
is
Yeah.
happening. They have a pile of flashlights that are too many for people to hold like in
Yeah.
both
Yeah,
hands.
there's more
So-
than there's people. Yes. So they leave Greg's room because he's not there, and they go to Jordan's room next. And inside, B finds a yellow bra on the ground.
Yeah, she like picks it up to look at it, and you're like, what the fuck are you doing? And Jordan's like, I doubt he's in my bra.
Yeah.
And you're like,
Um,
okay, don't be a bitch.
And then
But also
Emma,
don't be weird,
they
B.
find Emma hiding under the sheets.
Well, they find
Oh, this
a
is-
sheet pulled up with like clearly a body
A
under
body.
it, and you're like, and then it's just Emma, and she's freaking out.
Yeah,
She's,
and so
she's
then
having like a panic attack.
she's
under
having
there.
panic, but then they hand her the meat cleaver.
Okay.
Yeah, to like keep her. They're like, take this.
Yeah,
This will
because
help you."
now Jordan has the hunting knife from Greg's kit.
Right.
But I'm also just like, this is not a group of people I want to be in a crisis.
Of
No,
course
not at
not.
all.
A one of them. Jordan sort of has a brain cell of like, we got to check the circuit, we got to do this, except for she immediately escalates into panic and is like,
Right.
everyone is a murderer.
No,
And I'm like, you need to.
It's also
Fucking
really
calm
hard for
down.
me to believe that this group of women doesn't have an alpha. Like, how do you not have the person who just says, I'm in charge. You fucking
think
peons
that's
do
what
all these things.
Jordan
I mean, that's what Jordan
wants
is,
to be, but nobody
Nobody
She's badass.
listens.
to
No,
listen.
she's not an alpha because
B is a secret alpha because she's actually
she's definitely
we'll
a secret
get
alpha.
to the
Bees
part
are
where
a
she
She would
final
have
girl
taken over.
in
Yeah,
this.
B would have taken over this friend group if she was in it long enough.
Yeah.
for sure.
she's
But
that's-
timid, but she's been pushed to like.
there is always a woman who's in charge in
Yeah.
a friend group.
That's movie logic. In real life, any one of us alone in this situation would walk out that front door and fight the storm rather than be with.
You are right.
This group of people is more dangerous than the weather at this point.
Yeah,
You're
I'd
correct.
be like,
No.
which leads us to our next point.
Because this is where they hand out the Xanax all around, right? To be
Yeah,
like, who
'cause
wants
they
the
find-
Xanax? And
yeah.
Emma's like, oh, give me
Yeah,
one.
yeah.
Yeah,
They
well,
did that in
'cause
their
They're
room.
just munching more drugs.
They are.
during
They
all
are.
this.
They are little
well,
druggies all
Emma's
around.
having a serious psychotic.
Yeah,
She
she's
is.
having a break.
She's
She
having a
is
problem.
fully. When we see her later, it's clear that she is fully disassociated.
Yeah, she's
she's just a
disassociated
little
a little bit.
zombie person.
Yeah.
Just
And still, they're assholes to her because she's crying, and they're like,
Yeah.
she could just cry on command because she's an actor. I'm like,
Yeah.
God damn you people.
Yeah, they're
She's
horrible.
having-
They're horrible.
So this
Okay.
is a fun scene.
So they go looking for Greg some more. They find him splayed out on the gym floor because this house is huge.
This
it has
house
its own
has
gym
a fucking gym.
with
in
this
it.
red light mask.
with a red light. Yes,
And Alice,
light
who
therapy
is
mask.
still so empathetic, she's like, he has seasonal affective disorder.
And he's got headphones in. So she's
Yeah.
like, "Why didn't you come when I called for you?" And he's like, "Were you calling for me?"
I have headphones. This scene is beautifully designed.
Yeah.
Because he stands up, he has no idea what's going on because he's been in his own little
Cocoon.
Cocoon.
Yeah.
Lee Pace, 8 feet tall.
8 feet
Yeah.
tall.
All of these girls,
Nothing but abs.
Yeah.
5 foot.
Yeah.
And he's going, are we still playing the murder game?
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
thinks a game is going
He
on.
thinks because
Well,
they're all
and-
like accusing him
Well,
of being
because he's like,
the
you guys.
murderer.
At one point, he's like, you guys are fucking with me
You're
because they're like,
fucking with me.
he's outside bleeding. Where have you been? What's your thing? Like, they just come out and they have like fucking a meat cleaver
They
and
have
a
knives
knife.
on him.
Yeah.
And he's
And-
like, oh, I'm the bad guy. And he goes, ooh,
Yeah,
like
and
that.
he's
And they,
like
like,
runs and they are
jump
all
back.
screaming for
they're-
real.
yeah.
Because he's just playing around.
This
and
scene is so
But then he like,
great.
yeah.
who-
And then he realizes
slaps the knife out of Jordan's
And
hand.
he's like,
Yes.
stop fucking, look, this is serious.
Yeah.
Stop fucking around right now.
Yeah.
And if you've ever been in a room with a bunch of people on way too many drugs,
Yeah.
you can
No.
go, you can be like, okay, this is getting scary. We need
Well,
to do a
that's-
timeout
this
and
is-
talk about what reality.
Yeah, that was another thing where I'm really anxious because now they're like, why are you acting so suspicious? And I was like, every single one of you has a fucking weapon pointed
Yeah.
at this man who literally was just laying on the
Was
ground.
asleep.
And I was like, ah! But he slaps that knife out of Jordan's hand and takes it. And then is like, everybody calm down.
Everyone calm
Yeah.
down.
Let's all put our weapons down together.
And then he gets a.
And they all put the weapons down, and then Jordan body slams him, and he accidentally knocks her. Because, like, of course, you get attacked, so you, like, knock it off.
Yeah,
And she
and
goes
then
into the
all-
wall. He's like, are you okay?
All the girls are jumping on him.
Yeah,
like,
and they start
after
jumping on
And I'm
him.
like, what are you guys doing? Because again, Lee Pace, 8 feet tall, all these girls, maybe 5 feet. What do you think is happening?
So Emma's on his back. He runs to a knife, and he grabs it, but then B slams the back of his head with a kettlebell.
Yeah. with a
Yeah, because
kettlebell.
then all the other girls are like against the wall, and he's got the knife pointed at them, and B.
He's trying to calm them down.
He's
Yes.
trying to
He's
figure out,
literally-
like, yeah.
But
He has
that's
no
why
idea
I
what's
was
going
like,
on.
that's why I feel like Jordan's trying to take control, but she has also instigated this.
Yeah.
Like she has ratcheted everyone's
She has.
anxiety up so high
Yeah.
She is
that
not
they
the
are
voice of
just
reason.
sure that Greg is the killer, and
Well-
B is like he's about to stab people.
What's very funny is that they've like he was in Afghanistan or whatever. He was.
That doesn't come up yet, does it? It's about to.
No.
they,
The next
talk
scene.
about him being a
So
veteran.
B hits him in the kettlebell the second time.
Yeah.
He's down. He's dead.
He's dead.
We find out that from our lovely Alice that they're all like, well, he was a vet. He was the most likely to hurt us. And she's like, what are you
is, like,
talking
trying
about?
to say? She's like, on paper, he's the most likely.
the likely
Yeah,
one.
he's a vet. You said he was a vet.
He's like, yeah, a veterinarian assistant. Why'd you call him G.I. Joe then?
Have you
looked
seen
at it?
Yes. So, like, they all thought he was in the military, but he was a lovely little hippie vet.
This poor guy.
And
what a
then-
shitty,
and then-
useless way to die.
And found a lovely little hippie girl.
B-
and-
No, he needs to.
He needs
date
to be with.
older.
He needs to date a hippie woman.
Yeah. He needs to date a hippie woman.
And then B's like trying to come to terms with what she
she
did, and
vomits.
she throws up on her sweater.
Right.
Yeah, and then, I mean, the part where Sophie's just like, go change your shirt.
Yeah.
This is
She's
weird.
like, go
to
change
me.
your shirt. So Sophie goes and does coke and starts drinking.
Yeah.
She
Sophie
has
is
just
now-
broken her sobriety. And then she starts being really mean to everybody.
I can't blame Sophie for breaking her. This is a much
bad night.
higher situation
than most people live through. Yes,
than anyone have been through. She's like, I cannot be sober. I'm like, I'm sorry that you're breaking your sobriety, but I don't blame you at this point.
Yeah. So she's being really mean to everybody, saying horrible things, and then. At the interim, also, B is, like, finding clothes to put on, and she cleans herself up. She puts makeup on, which is a little strange.
I think she's just trying to
feel normal.
She's trying to, because she's, like, washing in the sink, which I'm like, why wouldn't you just take a shower? Maybe the water's all cold because the heat's out. I don't know.
Yeah.
But she's, like, washing all the blood off of her. I think she's just trying to...
She's having a moment.
She's trying to, like, be normal and collect herself. Like, I think she's trying to break away from the fact that she literally just
Sophie
killed a man.
through the board games looking for pills.
Yeah.
She goes through every board game looking for pills.
So there's a couple of things going on here that I find we've kind of glossed over the fact that B is gaining her accent more and more as the movie goes on. She had a phone call from her Russian mother earlier.
Barely talks.
She barely talks. And every time as she's stressed out, she starts losing her American accent. Mm-hmm. And now the makeup thing, there's all these little Lego blocks making people suspicious of, like, you're an other. You're not from America. And the makeup thing is, why did you do that? Yeah. Which we're asking. But also the characters are like, that's a weird thing to do. But the whole night's weird. So everyone's trying to, like, do whatever.
Well, it's this whole thing of, like, everybody has this... especially on, like, big breaking news stories of, like, somebody's been murdered or something. Everybody has this theory of how people are supposed to react to trauma. But the truth is everyone reacts differently.
We all know everybody reacts differently.
So they're like, that person's not crying enough. They're definitely the murderer. Right. That person's... And you're like, when your brain breaks, you're just fucking operating on autopilot and you're going to do just whatever.
And it's kind of what the movie is playing with. The idea that, you don't like these characters. But when shit starts going wrong, you're like, what would I do? Are they being humanized through, like, this trauma?
I mean... I know what I would do.
I mean, I know what I would do. You and I would do the exact same thing.
I would hit mom mode would kick in, and I would just be telling people what to do.
I would listen to you.
I know you would. Thank you.
I'd be like, shh, mom's here. Everybody shut up.
That's interesting. I wonder, because I feel like I would be telling everybody what to do, too. I wonder if we would butt heads.
We're the dad in this group, Michael.
Okay, fine.
All of our friends would listen to both of us.
Not the lead pace.
The only time when I take charge is when there's no one else to do it.
Right.
I'm more than happy to not call the shots as long as I trust the person. That's why I was like, I would listen to you. If somebody was like batshit and they were like, well, I'm going to tell you, I'm like, no.
Yeah.
Not you.
I think we would all pretty much, John being here, all of us, the kid being here, all of us would be like...
We would all set into our roles we've had for 20 years.
And we would turn back to back and face out. It would literally be circling the wagons. We all know what we want to protect, which is each other. It's easy. Yeah. Maybe put the kid in the middle of us.
Be like, get in. Yeah. You're too young. We're all old. Get in the
We're
center.
all old. If you got shit to live for, we only have a podcast. Yeah. So...
You know what? Alice would like our podcast.
Yes, she would love our podcast.
I think she would.
I love Alice.
I think we'd have a crossover. We'd be on hers and she'd be on ours.
So great. So after Sophie finds the stash with the drugs, she finds Emma.
In the hallway.
And apologizes to Emma, and hugs her, and then Emma tries to kiss her. And Emma to Sophie is like, isn't that what you wanted? And she's like, no. She's just trying to apologize.
Well, she's like sarcastically. She's like, of course, that's what I wanted right now. She's like, no.
Yeah. So it's like this whole friend group is obviously thinks that Sophie is just messed up all the time. But anyways, Sophie offers her drugs, the drugs she found, and she takes them, and then she leaves.
She scuttles out of screen, Emma does. Mm-hmm. I'm like, that's when I was like, oh, that girl is fully gone.
Yeah, she's gone. Alice is out looking for B, so she's running around in her jewelry looking for B, and then B sees Jordan looking for Sophie, and she hides. Yeah. And then Alice gets scared and runs and slips and falls in the dark onto Emma's bloody, dead body.
Right. So Emma is now dead at the bottom of the stairs, killed off screen.
Yeah.
And at this point, the first time we watched this, we paused, went to make dinner, and we both...
Really?
Yeah, we went to make dinner. And we were both like, so this is what's happening, right? And we're like, yeah, we had figured out what was going on.
Yeah. Well, did you know what's going on?
I thought for a while that this was maybe Pete Davidson was like pranking
Sure.
people.
Oh, sure.
And that a prank got out of control. But as he never comes back to be like, oh my God, this was just a joke,
Yeah.
then I'm like, well, what the fuck is happening?
We had figured out, it
first-
didn't take our enjoyment out of
No,
watching it
not at all.
but
No.
we're pretty much like, okay. And I'm not going to, obviously,
we'll
get
we're
there,
going to
yeah.
get there. with
The
no
big
spoiler
reveal
yet.
at the end. But that's what, at the very beginning, especially because there were all the flashlights and the batteries and the water, and I was like, this seems like a rich asshole game, because I was like, maybe Max and David aren't actually fighting, and he sent Max away to be like part of the game.
Maybe they're hunting each
And they're
other.
just- and
like
it's just like
Sophie and David
It's
are.
just like a funny little prank they're doing. Yeah. So Alice stumbled over Emma's dead body.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah. So then they decide that she was pushed, and then Alice is like, "It wasn't Greg. I told you so." You know.
Yeah.
Right.
I told you so.
I do love that. And she's like, it's always important to establish that you're right. Alice was like, I did tell you.
I did tell you.
Because then Jordan's like, are you happy that Emma's dead? And she was like, no, but I did tell you.
Yeah, so the girls are now attacking B because she has the sweater
Yes.
on and the makeup
She's
on.
shown up with this
She's
new
become
sweater.
a suspect.
Yes.
Yeah, and they're like,
we looked you up. We Googled you.
yeah,
Right.
you didn't go to Utah State.
Yeah. And she's like, you discovered David's body, and you could have sabotaged the generator like you did with a car. And then they're like, you killed Greg. So Alice and Jordan push her outside into the storm
I
while
know,
Sophie
and
just stands
Sophie-
there and
Right.
lets
Soap
it
does
happen.
nothing.
Does nothing. And
She
I
does
was
nothing.
like, just earlier that day, you told her you loved her.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And you're
there's-
letting your friends just like, I don't want you here. I don't want you here. And push her and lock her out of the house.
There's some real unevenness with motivation in this movie that I'm like, is it saying something and I'm missing it, or
Right.
is it flawed?
I mean, it feels really bad to be locked out of the house. Like me,
Of course.
and my,
Well,
I
and
remember
it's
as a kid being
In the
locked out of the house.
hurricane.
Yeah.
It-
Yeah,
yeah,
during
and
a hurricane
dire
is really
weather.
bad.
Yeah.
Dire weather. Yeah, for
Anyway,
sure.
we're going to pay off Chekhov's broken window here because B makes a run back to the car.
Right, well, so she gets back to the car. It's locked, but she forces the window down because it was stuck open. And she
These-
finds
some
food in
Flaming
there.
hot Cheetos.
Yeah,
baby.
I was like stress eating Cheetos. Same.
Yep.
Same.
And dry clothes. And then she finds a pair of yellow panties that she then smells.
Which is fucking crazy.
Yeah, what the fuck is this smelling?
this?
She's trying to figure out if it's her girlfriend's panties or somebody else's panties.
Honey, I'm sorry. I understand. I don't know if I could tell this. I mean, maybe.
Okay.
I don't know if I could
Sometimes
differentiate.
John is
Sure.
sometimes where we store our clean
Yes.
laundry,
You're
he
wondering
gets
if they're
changed.
clean or not. I
Yeah.
get it.
Yeah, and so he'll like hit a pair of his boxers will be on the floor, and I'm like, are these clean or are these you took these off, put the clean ones
Right.
on, and left the? And so I'll be like, but it is not a.
There's a
She
sm-
was like,
No, it
in
was.
it.
She
Also-
was
It
trying
is-
to
It is
identify
like
that vaginal
a.
smell.
It's like a.
Yeah.
What you just described is in your house.
Yeah.
Panties in a car, 100% dirty.
Yeah.
There's never clean panties in a car.
Yeah, and you pick them up and you're like, that's clean.
And they'll also take into account that these yellow panties match the yellow
Match
bra.
the bra.
Yeah.
In Jordan's room that Jordan
That's
already
why
claimed.
I was like, why would you smell them if you're suspicious that they're Jordan's? You don't know what
maybe
Jordan
she
smells
was just
like?
wanting to smell if they were clean or dirty.
That's is what I'm saying, but I'm saying
I just took it as something more, but yeah.
Jeep
Because
underwear is always
they're not packed in a bag or anything. They're just loose on
Yeah.
the floor.
Yeah. Okay, so then B is trying to get into the garage, and then she sees through the window that someone with a headlamp has gotten a gun out.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, I
We
love
assume
that.
is Jordan.
The whole conversation earlier, Jordan was asking like, are there guns in the house? Like when they were trying to like weapon up.
Mm-hmm.
And Sophie was like, David's dad is a dick, but his politics are solid.
Which
no,
is
there's no
such
guns
a
in here.
Lib idiot thing to say. Like, you don't have guns if you have to have bad politics if you have guns. Is
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah, it is a little dumb. So
I mean,
then,
I think it could be taken that they weren't gun nuts, so they're not going to have like
a gun room.
a gun room or like
Yeah.
a safe of guns. But
Guys,
I don't
I
think it's
think-
unreasonable. I mean, I don't like guns, but I don't think it's unreasonable for a person to have
At
one
all.
gun.
This is America. It's hard not to have a gun.
Mm-hmm.
And like this family's
I was
politics
raised with guns.
seem cool as fuck, and Uncle Jack's got guns for
mean,
days.
Yeah.
It's because
we
it's
were
hunting
raised.
and stuff.
I mean, we were too.
Yeah.
We had rifles in our house my whole
Yeah.
life, and bows and arrows.
Shotguns.
And I will say, David's dad he doesn't just leave them. He seems like a responsible gun owner. He's got them put away, although not locked because she just got it out of a drawer.
Right.
Should have put that shit in a safe.
Yes.
Anyway, let's
Anyways,
not get too deep into the Second Amendment here.
So B finds the doggy door that she's seen earlier. the other side of it on the outside.
Am I crazy? Was I just so spun last night? She's crawling through a tunnel.
It's a tunnel.
Yeah, it goes for a while.
Okay. It's a tunnel. So she crawls through this
to
doggy
give you
door
that
tunnel.
feeling of like claustrophobia.
Is that what it
they
was?
really exist, okay? These doggy tunnels really are real. You can Google them.
Yeah.
It's fine, but
but
it seems like it's taking up an awful lot of real estate.
does.
in
I'm
your
also
house.
for this house, they talk about like the security several times and like, does the security system work if the power's out? And like,
I mean,
how do you get through the gate?
This
Do you
is
have the
literally
gate
why
code?
we never put a
And-
doggy door in our
yeah,
house.
and I was
because
like,
a human
and this-
being can crawl through it.
Right.
Yeah, and I was like, this doggy door is big enough for, I mean, she's not a big woman, but for a full person to crawl through, and it just has like the plastic flaps. It doesn't have, they make ones that, which I think a wealthy person would have, that have like the doors that just react to
one
like
way.
the chip.
Yeah.
Oh,
in
I
the
see.
duck, so
Okay.
it only opens for them. Because also you're gonna get wild animals in your house.
Yeah, all this
This
stuff.
is a huge flaw in the script. And
It
as
is.
you have this as a plot point, you need to have that dog like attack Bee outside. That dog has to be somewhere.
Yeah,
It should
the
have been a
dog
character, but it
is
wasn't.
not
Yeah.
there.
There's no fucking dog. Anyways, so Bee gets in the house through the doggy door. She grabs a hammer off of a shelf of tools.
Right.
Yeah, because they just
And,
fucking pushed her out into the storm. She's
yeah.
like, these people have gone nuts.
Yeah.
It's about me now. I'm gonna save me.
So she finds the girls, and they're like, how'd you get back in here? Or whatever. And then she tells them Jordan has a gun. And she's like, no, I don't. I do not. Then they tell her to empty all her pockets. So the girls actually kind of believe Bee, and they're like, empty your pockets. But there's no guns. But she has the paper with the murderer.
Yeah,
She's
the
got
X.
the X
She's
that
the
she was a
murderer.
murderer in the game.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which of course, they immediately jump to, well, then she's the real killer in real life.
At this point, you're like, the game's fucking over, y'all.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if I was number 4 in the white elephant. And that's
Well, that's also, as soon as they all shoved Bee out the door, I was like, I'm Team B. She should just finish all these bitches off.
Yeah.
They are
Yeah.
the worst.
So Jordan starts calling Bee a liar and how she lied to Sophie about and insists that she doesn't have a gun. Bee confesses that she left Utah State to take care of her mom, and that when Sophie dropped her at the mall, she just hung out at the food court 'cause she didn't actually have the job she said she had.
Because the game hut she worked at got shut down.
right.
Yeah.
It's all just class stuff.
But
It's all
I like
being
that she's
embarrassed
also like, my mom has borderline.
Yeah.
And everything, this is the part, everything that everybody says, Alice is like, oh my God.
yeah.
Oh, she has borderline? That's like a very, and Jordan's
like
like,
a very
whatever. She's like, that's a very serious mental illness.
Well, she also talks about her body dysmorphia.
Yeah, she's like, I've never told anybody about this, but I do have body dysmorphia.
And then they're just like, shut the fuck up.
Yeah. And when Sophie is talking about how everyone was doing drugs in front of her, she was like, you immediately do lines of coke in front of, and she's like, how come when I do it, it's a fucking problem, but when David, because he's a white male, then it's not a problem.
Yeah,
And then Alice
which is
is
a thing.
immediately like, I am an ally, and I can see how that would, and I was like, oh my God, Alice, shut up.
Yeah. At this point, Alice, the coolness of Alice is like, this is gone to the dark side. Like, she's
Yeah.
just too.
She's emoting too much.
Yeah.
She's too open. She's too much on everyone's side.
I am positive that Alice identifies as an empath.
Yes, she
Oh, yeah.
totally does.
Alice has grown up and now is really into crystal healing.
Yes. Yes.
She meets people and she's like, I can feel that coming off of you.
Yeah,
I'm an empath.
absolutely,
Which I'm like, that is
absolutely.
just empathy, which everyone has unless you are a sociopath or a psychopath.
Right. So Bee has dropped the hammer and hugged Sophie, and Jordan gets so upset. She actually grabs the gun that she swore she did
Yeah.
not have.
Yep.
And then I wrote drama, which is part of what Jamie was talking about, all
Yeah.
the stuff they're talking about. And then Jordan tells Bee that Sophie begged her to stop by her apartment on the way up here, and they fucked in her car, which explains the fucking panties.
Right.
And then tells Bee to check her texts. And then everybody just is attacking everybody verbally, and to the point where then Jordan gets so mad that she shoots Alice in the leg.
that's what Alice is like. Well, first Sophie is like, Jordan, you don't even like Alice's podcast. And Alice is like, obviously hurt by that.
Yeah.
And then she's like, she's like, it takes a lot of work.
I've been doing it for years.
I've been doing it for, you have to build an audience. You have to put, and I was like, it does take a lot of work.
Yeah,
I know. I
I
felt
felt so
hard
funny.
for her.
This is what I guess this is why I love Alice. I'm like, God, girl, I know your pain.
Yeah.
And then Sophie,
Can't find an audience.
and then Sophie is like, just let Alice have the podcast. And I was like, yeah, just let Alice have her podcast. And I'm like, she is vapid, but ultimately she's harmless.
Yeah.
And she's
like,
doing something.
yeah, just let her be.
That's technically
just let her be
positive.
herself. But then she's yelling at Jordan because Jordan was so mean to her about the
Yeah.
podcast. And then I'm like, Alice, girl, you got to shut up. Jordan is pointing that gun, Alice, and then shoots her in the leg. And I'm like, Alice, I told you.
And then she's like, did you just fucking shoot me? And Jordan's like, no.
Yeah, the way that she was like, I didn't do it. And her like, you definitely did it.
He definitely shot her.
You can't
All right.
just be like, I didn't do it. And then there's what
Tussle.
I call gun wrestling.
Gun wrestling.
Which is
I have gun wrestle here.
Gun ring. I was like, it is a look. I don't have guns. I don't shoot guns.
Should not wrestle with guns.
And even I know, I'm like, this is not proper
It's
gun
like
safety.
in the top 3 things you shouldn't do.
We're all just fucking rolling around trying to get that gun. And poor Alice keeps screaming because people keep landing on her leg.
Yeah.
She's like, oh, my leg.
Yes. Well, in the end, the gun goes off again, and Alice is
Obviously.
now dead. So
Shot her in the head.
there are 3 left in this party.
Yeah, we've got Jordan, Soph, and B.
Yeah.
And Jordan is still like, I didn't do that. And
Yeah.
I'm like, bitch.
Yeah.
Jordan grabs the gun and she backs away, and Sophie advances on her and trying to convince her to drop the gun, and then she backs up all the way up the stairs, and Sophie is just like going behind her, like advancing, trying to get her to
Yeah,
drop
she's
the gun.
like, it's okay. Let's be calm. Why don't you put the gun down? Put
Yeah.
the gun. And Jordan's just like, no, stop coming up here.
Yes.
I'm like,
And then B, suddenly out of the nowhere, jumps at Jordan to try to get the gun out of her. Shots go off. Jordan gets B in a headlock, and then B throws her over the railing. So.
and she lands on their table of storm supply.
Yes, she
Blood,
does.
right.
Yes. And then at the bottom, as she's dying, she yells, check her texts.
Which I was like, okay, that has to be true. Who uses their dying words to tell a lie?
Right.
She's like, it's so important to me that you know. Check the text.
Yep. So and then she starts shooting at them. She's still
Yeah,
laying on
she's
her
just
back and she's
shooting.
shooting.
Guys,
like,
it's pretty funny.
it is really funny.
It's pretty funny.
So then they run away and they hide themselves in a sauna. And then that's where B asks about the sex with Jordan. And Sophie tells her that she would never do that and that she loves her. And then Sophie goes to touch her, but B like backs off. And she's like,
You frightened me.
You frightened me, yeah.
Because she also asked Sophie if she killed Emma.
Yeah.
She was like, it's okay if you did, you can tell me. And she's like, no, I didn't do that.
Yeah. So then B takes off and hides alone in the pink room, which I think is a solarium, maybe?
Yeah, that's when I was like, what's this fucking jungle room?
I love the jungle
There's
room.
fucking
It's so
plants
great.
everywhere.
It's magenta and plants. I mean, this is like the perfect room for me. So then Sophie chases her but doesn't find her. And now the sun has come up. We see all the carnage
Yeah,
of all
we
the
take a
dead
tour
bodies.
through the
He's walking
bodies.
through the
Broken
house and it's
glass.
like,
Yeah.
dead bodies, dead body. It is bodies, bodies, bodies.
Yeah, and B is outside by the pool, and Sophie finds her, and she like jumps at her from behind, and
hugs
B
her.
just she's hugging her, and B is like playing along, and so Sophie admits to giving Emma pills, and that she tripped and fell down the stairs, and it was her fault, and no one would believe her, so she didn't say anything, and then B pulls the gun on her and demands her phone to see her
the
text
text.
messages.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Sophie then is
Which I was like, nothing good can come of this.
No.
Because either A, you're going to see that she cheated on you, or B, you've pulled a gun on your girlfriend who didn't cheat on you
Right.
and,
And
you've taken
also,
her
like,
phone.
And
Her
see,
was-
at this point, does it matter?
No,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter.
Like,
At
I
this point,
think she
rational
just-
thought is
I
gone.
think she just needs to know.
She just needs to know. Rational thought is gone, and she needs to know. Yeah. So then, instead of Sophie giving it to B, she throws the phone
Which
away.
immediately I was like, oh, that bitch cheated.
Yeah, she did. Immediately,
Well,
that's
I mean,
confirmation.
that's what I'm saying. It doesn't matter because the underwear, the way everyone's reacting, B knows.
Yeah.
She
Yeah.
doesn't need to see this.
As soon as she was like, okay, and throws the phone, I was like, oh, she cheated.
Oh,
Yeah.
this
she
bitch.
cheated.
And now they are mud wrestling for the phone.
Yeah.
And then they fall into the pool, and then they get out of the pool, but instead of finding
They
Sophie's
get a phone, but it's the wrong
it's
phone.
David's phone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then
like,
B's smart.
Sophie's like, it's not my phone.
Yeah.
That's not my phone.
That's not my phone. And they're like, there's like, weirdly, because they found not her phone, they're both like on the same side all of a sudden, whatever.
Well, and hilariously, they use David's corpse
Yes,
to
yeah, for
unlock
face
the
ID.
phone.
unlock his
Yeah.
phone.
Which,
Yeah.
okay, I do have to say a little unsettling fact I learned recently because she goes over David's body, his eyes are closed, and
She
she
opens
like
them.
opens them and does the face ID. I learned recently that,
I
what
know
are they,
what
at the mortuary,
Okay.
when
Oh.
they're preparing a body for like,
Morticians. They're called
morticians, that's what it is.
Yeah.
When they're preparing a body, eyes pop back open.
Yep.
Sure.
And so they have these little like,
They're called trocar buttons.
and they put them in
and
your
they're
eyes.
little
and
plastic things with spikes
to
that
hold
stick
the
up
things.
and hold them down.
So
course
that
you
was
know what
like
those are called.
the only thing I could think of when they went over and she opened his eyes. I'd be like, that'd be unnecessary. Those would be
They would already been open, yeah.
But that's neither here nor there. I just wanted to share that.
So they
creepy
use his
little
body
fact.
to unlock it, and then they actually go back. She goes back to where in the mud because Sophie has never left the mud.
Yeah.
And
Let's watch this
and they
together.
watch what he was filming, and it turns out
It's a TikTok of him trying to savor
Trying
off
to open that bottle.
that champagne bottle.
he did it to himself.
Yeah. He tries. And it's playing that I'm bored in the house is bored. In the house bored. I'm bored. And he's trying to do it. And then when he can't get it in the direction that you're supposed to do it, he starts going with the blade toward him, which I'm like, don't do that.
Don't do that.
That's
Don't
not
do
what
that.
you do. And then you see him cut his own throat. And I was like, oh my God.
Yeah, it's good.
It was a fucking accident because he was filming a TikTok. He died filming a TikTok. He's a fucking idiot.
Everyone
Yep.
is a fucking idiot.
Yep.
They all killed
Everybody.
themselves.
Yes.
Yes, and then Max walks in the gate.
Yeah,
the pool
he's
area.
come back.
He's like, "What's happened?" And then the fountain turns on,
And B says,
the cell phones buzz.
I have reception.
The girls look
'cause
at each other.
B's phone is just like ding, ding, ding.
I have reception, and that is the end of the fucking
yeah,
movie.
and then it just boom, and the credits roll, and that is when I put my hands on my face, and I was like, "What the fuck?"
This is what happens when.
Guys, it's
This
kind
is
of
what
a
happens when
good
Gen
movie,
Z doesn't
right?
have internet.
Well, that's why I was like,
No,
that's why I was
it's
like,
not an
this is-
indictment of an entire generation.
Yeah,
I
I was
cannot
like-
stress that enough.
That's why I was like, are we saying that Gen Z doesn't have their
No.
phones and they just murder each other? But they
No.
were ultimately all. I think if you play with and twist the worst characteristics that are emphasized about Gen Z, which are
Yes.
not necessarily true, if you paint a caricature of Gen Z, that's what it is. And
Yeah.
I
wealthy
guess.
Gen Z. Because it's
Wealthy
all.
Gen Z, yeah.
You know how older generations are like, oh, they're all so soft. Oh, they're entitled. I think it takes that idea and takes it to 11. Like, what if they were all wealthy, entitled, clueless,
I guess.
couldn't survive?
I can't.
Which is why B is the hero, because she's a Gen Z, but she's come from like, she's an immigrant with a working class family, and her mother
That's why I don't
has
think it's a generation
yeah.
thing. I think it's a money thing.
I think it's a class thing.
It's a class.
It's a first world problems thing.
It is a
because
current class
and I
thing.
can't-
It is literally a current
well, also
class thing.
when they were having that fight, Alice is like, "Well, we're all wealthy, but David and Sophie, you guys are like really wealthy."
They're
and then she
wealthy,
was like, "Oh, Jordan, I'm so tired of your rags to riches things." And she says to her, "Your family is upper middle class." And
Yeah.
Jordan is like,
No, we're
they're-
not.
no,
My
they're
parents
not.
are teachers.
They're teachers. She's like, they're university professors. She's like, it's a state school.
It's so funny.
I
It
was
is
like,
so funny.
oh my God.
It's this group of individuals.
They're so out of touch.
Being so out of touch. And it speaks to something that we all have to deal with. It's this attention-based economy across the board. TikTok is
That was
very...
something they said in this movie, tension-based economy.
Oh, did they?
Yeah.
I must be in the back of my head.
Got it.
TikTok is a thing in this. I
Yeah.
know it's tired as fuck now, but TikTok is like the whittling
It was
down of
3 years
attention
ago.
spans and the fact that anybody can do these vapid dances, any sabering bottles, any of this bullshit, and all of us around this table are going to swipe and see it.
Yeah.
And it takes
For
no
2
talent.
seconds.
It takes no effort. It takes nothing. And it's addicting the people who watch it, and it's killing the people who do it.
Yeah.
And we're still
Well, there are
We're
true
there.
stories of other people dying making TikToks because they're trying to like do crazy things, hang out of cars, or like go off bridges,
parkour
yeah,
off of buildings
yeah.
and shit like
so
that.
like people are dying to make these viral videos, and you're like, don't
Don't
do that.
because it's literally a swipe in our lives, and
Yeah.
you just like. So that I think is what ultimately the movie is how
Ephemeral?
ephemeral the attention is, and potentially your life is.
Well, that's what the one thing that I was kind of left with at the end was like, what a waste of
What a
all
waste.
their
Yeah.
lives.
Oh, yeah. What a waste.
What a
Because they
waste.
were all so young, and they had potentially, because their parents had like money and connections, they had all the potential
To
in
make
the
something?
world
To do
and
anything.
all they needed to do was just get a little bit older
Yeah.
and get a
And
little
maybe
more
mature.
perspective
Yeah.
on the world and their lives. And I don't know, it was like just wasted because
I know.
they just all turned on each other immediately and killed each other. And, like, 2 people just died by total accident.
Total accident. And that's what, like, the Greg death, I know this is probably going to speak to, of course, you respond most to the Greg death because you're an old man and he's an old man in this movie. But I was just like, he woke up and was like, hi, I shouldn't be here, but I am. And I need to calm this down.
Yeah. He tried to dad them, and they would not listen.
He tried to dad them, and he died.
Yeah.
Just trying to get rationality back into the room.
Yeah.
What a waste.
Yeah.
Anyway, pretty fun. I love that Max shows up and is just like, huh? And
Yeah.
then we cut to black.
Yeah, because they're like,
we don't even know who Max is.
Max has got to be the killer. Once Greg is dead, and they're like, oh, it's not B. Oh, it's got to be Max. And then he shows up. What's going on? That's just the last line of the movie. I have reception.
I have reception. Pretty good. I stand by it. I still like it. It's kind of.
It was our first regular humans hurting regular humans movie.
Yeah, I don't know. Nothing supernatural. Nothing.
I mean, well, what about Murder Party?
That's true.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
It was regular humans.
Our second episode was humans hurting humans.
You're right. I forgot. I guess every time humans hurt
That's
humans.
why you pay the big bucks. Jamie, you know exactly our catalog.
I forgot about Murder
I've
Party.
listened to every episode probably 6 times.
I feel so bad for you.
I'm deep in the catalog right now.
All right, so that was Bodies, Bodies, Bodies. Mm-hmm. Now, do we have a question from John?
I want you to describe a dream you've had and then explain what you think it means.
What? What a weird-ass question. John?
Well, this is partially inspired because every fucking dream I have is cuckoo bananas. And I think
So
what
is
it means
Michael's.
is that I am fucking cuckoo bananas. I've already told you about the recurring dream I had when I was a child, but the woman who fell from the sky and fell apart and tried to take me under the deck and stuff.
So our recurring dreams are in an episode, right?
Yes.
Okay.
That was like what scared you as a child that shouldn't have.
Gotcha.
And I was scared of that because of that recurring nightmare. So
It's
if
not
you
my
need
thing,
some...
'cause I
yeah,
don't
John was
dream
like, Lindsay's not
So
going to be able to answer that because he also doesn't dream.
Let's talk about that.
not
You
about-
don't dream?
I do, but I don't.
You don't remember
Don't
them?
remember them.
That's how John is too.
When I first wake up, I might remember it for like a couple of minutes, but then I no longer remember.
Yeah.
You are waking up from a dream in REM sleep.
Yeah.
And so you don't retain it. I
don't
think
retain
that's
it.
how the science works.
I don't retain it. Now, like, if I was, like, trying to sleep till, like, 8 a.m. and I was, only thing that was keeping me there was whatever dream story I was building, then I would be able to retain that part from, like, 6:30 to 8.
Almost
But I don't do that.
all my dreams are stress dreams. It's something about me. I have dreams where I'm back at jobs that I haven't had for a decade, and I don't remember how to do them, or something's changed, the system's changed, and like
It's the naked
orders
school
are
thing,
orders
or-
are piling up, or like, oh God, I have dreams where I show up to work naked and nobody says anything,
Okay,
and then
I
I'm
said
like,
that as a cliche that I didn't think anyone really had. I've
and
never
then
had
I'm
it
like,
naked.
why didn't anybody say anything to me? Why am I just topless here? Nobody's going to talk about it. Oh my God. So
Jamie lives in a constant state of anxiety, even in her sleep.
I mean, I was re-listening to our episode about how, like, your horror movie would be if your anxiety killed
Could
people.
kill other
like,
people.
oh, everyone would just die super
Yes.
fast.
So what my dreams mean is that I'm out of it. Here's one I'll describe to you, and you guys can tell me what it means. Okay. So in my dream, I worked at a school. It's more like a, what is it? The X-Men Professor X school for
I'm sorry,
gifted
are you talking
youth.
about Xavier School for
Yes.
gifted children?
It's
Okay.
more like that's the kind of school I work at. And I was like, I wasn't a teacher. I was like a custodian or something. And all these students kept going up to the roof of the school. And I kept trying to convince people that what they were doing was that they would go up to the roof of the school, they would turn into swans, fly down, then fuck off and leave the campus for the day, then turn back into swans, fly back up, and then come down. And they were like, well, we never left because we were on the roof all
I mean,
day.
that's literally the Swan Princes. That's literally the fairy
But
tale.
I'm trying to convince everyone that they're turning into, yes, my brain pulls in a lot of, we watched that Ludwig show, and then I the next night had like a dream that I was solving fucking crimes. So my brain pulls in everything that it's got, and it's like, what if we stir this up and make you anxious about it? So anyway, I'm trying to convince everyone that they're turning into swans. No one will believe me. So then I go up to the roof of the school, and there are feathers on the roof, and I'm like, look, see, here's the proof. But waking Jamie is like, there's feathers on the roof because there's fucking birds up there. But asleep Jamie was just so, she's like, why won't anyone listen to me? Which
I mean,
pretty
okay,
much
right
explains
there,
Nobody
yeah.
the crux
You
of the
feel like
dream.
nobody's listening
You're
to you.
feeling
No
like,
one listens to me. I solved it. No one's
okay, shut
listening
up.
to me.
I'm just- So I want to do two things real quick. I hear it as a cliche that people are like, God, no one wants to hear somebody describing their dream. That's the boringest shit ever. I disagree with that. I think it's fun. I'm thinking about people listening to this right now.
Yeah.
I like listening to people's dreams. I think they're weird and whatever.
Yeah, especially if they're fucking strange.
On the other hand, to answer the question, I have wackadoodle dreams. They mean nothing.
I know. They
They
mean nothing. Yeah.
They're little story fodder.
You
for
tell me them all the
weird things.
time, and
Yeah.
I'm like, what a weird dream.
What a
That's
weird
cool,
fucking
Michael.
dream. Everyone has hot sauce for fingers, and they walk around telling people. I'm literally making shit up right now.
Yeah.
The only dreams that make sense to me are boring as fuck, where I have stress dreams where I'm at my job.
Yeah.
I'm literally just at my job doing my job. Or I think this is very common as well, I really need to dial a phone number and I can't. I keep fucking it up. I'm desperately trying to call
More anxiety.
somebody.
Ooh.
It's just anxiety.
You can't reach someone.
I
You
can't.
can't communicate.
I can't complete a simple task that is required of me.
Right.
And all that is I
think
don't
that's
want
a
to go to work.
Do you think that's a stress about your health?
Yeah, I'm stressed about everything. The world is on fire.
This is where we practice if I can be a psychologist.
I mean, let's do that. Let's do that as a podcast instead.
Look, Dr. Phil's not a real fucking doctor.
Hey, John,
Dr. Jamie.
have more fun questions.
Have more fun questions? Sure.
You got any dreams?
I honestly don't remember dreams, though I do have a tendency to remember sex dreams, but
Ooh.
for
You remember sex dreams?
more often than anything. Probably because I wake up and they're more...
Am I there?
Sometimes.
Whatever, the more the merrier.
But no, I'm serious though. Like, I really don't remember dreams, but those are the ones that I remember the most because I probably wake up hot and bothered and I'm like, why? And
I can give you also the one that I had last night, which I immediately woke up and told John about. I had a dream that I was going to Alaska to work on like a excavation or a dig or something. But most of the dream, what I mostly remember is that I was telling John my travel plans. I was like, first I have to get on one plane, then I have to get on another plane, like a smaller plane. Like you go to the commercial airport, and then I have to get like a private plane to a further smaller out place. Then once I get to that further smaller out place, then I still have to drive an hour away from that to get. So I'm like going away.
So your dream is literally just
But
an
then
itinerary.
the rest of the dream is me packing my suitcase for what I need to take and not being able to like. I have all these clothes in the dream that don't make any sense.
Right.
And like I'm going on an excavation, and at one point I'm like, "Is this too dressy for the plane?" And it's like a long skirt and like kitten heels, and like and I have like weird sweaters. And in my thing, I'm like, I haven't packed any toiletries. I need to pack like fucking toothbrushes and shit. And I was like, I don't have a ski suit.
It sounds-
I need like a fucking snowsuit for this. Why don't I have any? My plane leaves tomorrow. How can I get a snowsuit in that time? Where do you buy a snowsuit? And of course, it devolves into
You're stressing me out right now.
anxiety.
I was gonna say, like, if it sounds like both of you have anxiety at a higher level than I do.
Well, no,
and that's why it comes out in your dreams, and
my
also
my,
wakes you up from REM. And I don't.
Yeah,
I will
I-
literally sleep through you coming
Babe,
to bed.
your sleep schedule is so healthy. You are
That's
the
why
one
I
who
think-
has the real healthy. You go to bed when you go to bed. You wake up when you like.
I
you
think
are,
that's what it is. I think I don't rest well,
No.
Yeah.
which is why I remember all my dreams
Right.
because they're always just stressful.
I stayed up until 1 in
I
the
wake
morning
up at-
dealing with this stupid fucking.
I wake up
movie,
at 3
so-
o'clock in the morning constantly, but I never am coming out of a dream when this happens. I
Right.
feel like I surface and then I go back down. You know, I don't feel like I'm like suddenly, because for me to remember a dream, I was woken suddenly. You know, I heard
I
a
mean,
noise.
maybe that's it. Maybe it's the opposite, where if you wake up during REM state, that's
Yeah.
when you remember. I don't know. There's something
That
like
is the only time that, or
There's a really cool book called The Science of Sleep.
like
that
I said,
kinda
or I'm
recommend.
trying to sleep and it's really late and I've already gotten my 8 hours. I remember dreams then because that's my like active brain making stories.
When I was in high school, I had a dream, and I made up like a song, and I was in the backseat of a car. There was no driver, and it was just like speeding down off of a cliff. And then in the dream, a song was playing on the radio, and it was a good song, and I was so pissed that I couldn't recreate it. Like, if I'm gonna at least make like a good song, like I should be able to fucking do it. But the song was called "Don't Tell the Driver," and then in parentheses that the passengers are dead.
Love it.
And I'm just like in the back of a car, and all I remember is, don't tell the driver, don't tell the driver.
See,
That's
now-
the
It's like Tenacious
passengers are
D.
dead.
The greatest song in the world. He couldn't remember
Yeah,
what it was.
this is just a trivia. This isn't the greatest song in the world.
This is
But the
a
crux
trivia.
of that story is that I'm in a vehicle and no one's in control of it, and it's spinning out of control,
Yeah.
and I'm just fucking dying.
Yeah.
You're just fucking dying. Okay, so this has been another episode of the Creature Podcast. I want to thank our producer, Jamie. She makes it sound real good. I want to
And she's
thank
doing perfectly fine.
Kevin MacLeod for all of our music. You can see all of our art, which is done by myself and Lindsay at creaturepop.com. I realize I didn't give Jamie's credentials.
Oh, well.
I'm doing it off there.
Jamie is perfectly fine. That's all they need to know.
Go to cherrystreetstudios.com or cherry_street_studios at Instagram. On Instagram.
Please say something nice to me.
Should I take this whole thing?
I kind of like it.
You're right. You're right. Go to creaturerock.com. There's art there that we both do. There's t-shirts there. There's stickers there. I love you, John.
I love you, John.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
What a mess.